Hi, everybody, and we are live again. This is Alesh, and I'm just waiting here for my good friend Raphael, who's going to talk with me today about pain. And we've heard a lot about pain, and sometimes there are these sayings, no pain, no gain. At the same time, we know all over the world, especially in specific countries, in the US and UK, there is a huge pharmaceutical industry that tries to eradicate pain from our lives with various level of success. So what we wanted to do today was really to take a look at what pain actually is and what function does it have in our lives. Since this is a series of talks related to personal development and personal growth, and not, a medical advisory board, we are going to be talking about pain in a broader sense. So, pain as discomfort, pain as anything that is unpleasant, anything that provides an impulse to our brain that we should stop doing what we're doing. We should kind of bail from the activity that is bringing us pain. And this information is, of course, often useful. It is a warning signal for us that something is going wrong and that we may damage our bodies. But in many ways, also the mild sense of pain or discomfort is something that can serve as an excuse not to try to stretch ourselves into new areas and new opportunities. So we want to talk about both of those. And before Raphael joins us, I will recollect what this series is about and why we are actually doing this. So this is actually already episode number 9. Number 9. I don't know why I'm showing fingers because I'm proud of the count, I guess, and I'm going to run out of fingers soon enough. And what we did at the beginning some weeks ago was we committed ourselves to do live stream talks every week and discuss some of the topics related to personal development or personal growth. It was to a large extent self-serving at the beginning because we wanted to have these talks with one another, and because I personally consider Raphael very inspiring in terms of what he reads, what he lives, and at the same time we have common interest when it comes to personal development and specific books. So bringing in the specific topic at hand. Last time when we talked about the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and if I'm not mistaken, Raphael finished that book recently, and he is trying to put these practices in his life. And because he joined us already, I'm going to put him on the screen so you can see the better part of the duo. And Raphael, are you stuck? Are you stuck right now, or is it just me?
It might be just you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, now I can hear you okay. I've seen you stuck with your mug, stuffed in your face, which was still impressive, of course. But yeah, I can hear you now.
Stuck with my mug in my mug. Good
Alrighty.
evening to you, Alesh.
Well, good evening to me and to everyone who's watching either now or from the canned copy of this, which is going to be on the platform till the end of days. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. So far, not too much pain in my life, but I already introduced the topic of the day, which is the pain in our lives, and pain in the broader sense also means discomfort. And what I made clear in here is that neither me nor you are medical professionals, so whatever advice, quote unquote, we're going to be providing here is based on our experience only. But I already introduced the David Goggins book, which is something that we did touch upon multiple times in the previous episode. And if I'm not mistaken, you just finished the book recently, or just a couple of weeks ago. Could
Yes.
you do just another kind of sales page about this book and tell us what's the bottom line and why people should look into it?
Sure. Yeah. So, Can't Hurt Me is the title of the book by David Goggins. He wrote it, I believe, with the assistance of another friend. And it kind of details the story of David Goggins, beginning with his somewhat difficult, you could say, childhood. I would say in some ways extremely difficult. And his story of overcoming the odds, kind of being sick and overweight, and eventually becoming a Navy SEAL, as well as going through Army Ranger training and some competing in ultra marathons and things like that. So going from a kind of very sick and painful life to accomplishing things that most of us can only dream of accomplishing. And the message, kind of the underlying message in the book, is that there is so much more available to us than we are in touch with. That there's a lot more to tap into if we can break through the initial resistance and discomfort that we feel. One of the kind of recurring things that he talks about is what he calls the 40% rule. And his idea is that many of us quit at about 40%. When we think we've hit our max, that's about where we're at. And so, yeah, the book is very inspiring in that way, because it's a reminder that there is a lot more that we can access if we're willing to go through that initial discomfort. And, my personal opinion is that the average person, the things that Goggins has accomplished physically are many of them things that I don't think the average person should even attempt, having to run on broken legs or taking things to this extreme. But I think the example that he sets is that there's much more that we can access if we're willing to go past the initial discomfort. And he himself acknowledges that this is something that can be applied to any area of your life. This isn't specifically about, ultra marathoning, endurance, kind of intense physical feats. This can be applied to, things at the office or in the family dynamic as well.
That sounds great. It's a great summary, and I still have to read the book. I've just read the highlights so far, and what actually brought this for me, and I'm gonna share the title here, is a similar book in terms of aspirations. It's called The Flinch. It's a very quick read, and I'm actually going to provide a link to my highlights in here as well. And what it says is, in a nutshell, that we tend to avoid discomfort, and we tend to flinch when we are facing a potential pain or even potential minor stress. And what we need to do is, similar to David Goggins, based on the author of The Flinch, is to kind of lean into the discomfort and overcome the first couple of seconds, or I think he talks about 5 seconds of the discomfort, because after you're in the activity, the discomfort kind of dissipates. It's the flinch you have before you kind of open the tap with the cold water, or put yourself out there into the activity. Once you're in it, you can take it.
Yeah. The 30-minute practice I did before this call was a little different than that. The discomfort persisted throughout the 30-minute practice for me today. So sometimes, yes, I think the initial kind of discomfort is the most powerful. Getting started with anything, whether it's a training routine or, filling out an application, starting a live stream. It's like once you hit that live, you're on, and it's not so difficult. But yeah, can we be with that? And again, as Alesh said, neither of us are physicians, so we're not suggesting that you push yourself to the point of injury. But it's an interesting place to explore and get to know, kind of be with our discomfort a little bit and find our edges. We like to stay comfortable these days. It's very tempting to stay comfortable. There's a lot available to us if we're willing to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, I agree, and I think we're going to dive deeper into this topic. Before we do, Raphael, I didn't use secondary device, but I can hear your voice clearly, but I see only your static image. I was wondering if you can maybe refresh your camera to see if that will help.
Let me try this.
Wow. Interesting. So hopefully it's just me. I'm gonna check if I can see you on the other platform.
Let me know now. I stopped and restarted the camera, and on my screen I can see myself clearly, and I can see you. So I'm not sure if it's just you or if there's something wrong with my connection.
See if I can do anything. Okay, very good. I think it's something just on my end. I just checked one of the plethora of the platforms we are streaming into. So that's something I'm gonna have to live with. But thank you. I was looking at the options in here, and oh my God, I'm now just for the fun of it, I'm checking the options in here. So we are using the application called Streamyard for the streaming. And I have options for you, Raphael, here that says kick from the studio, ban from the studio, or edit name. So I can actually rename you to, Captain Cook or whatever I want, which I want. That would be some pain inflicted.
Yeah, I wonder how that pain would serve me.
So let's, what I like about our talks here is that we bring in ourselves. And personal experiences, personal stories in here, and I'd like to share this one with you. It's because I believe this might serve some people, and of course it always serves me to have your advice on that. So would it be okay if I take? Hopefully, I'm going to try to keep it really short to explain that. Let's see if it's relatable with people.
Please.
So my in my family in the last couple of days there was a actually it was I don't want to go too specific, but one of my close family members was at risk of a serious illness, and then there was a diagnosis conducted, and what it means as the effect is the need to adhere to a stricter diet for a set period of time, and be careful about physical activity and stuff like that. What is interesting about that, and where I will open up fully, is I realize how much it's affecting me, because I became I am fairly judgmental when it comes to other people and to myself when it comes to exposing to the discomfort. I know that no pain, no gain is just a fancy saying that they put on T-shirts in the gym. At the same time, I believe it's kind of true, and I tend to judge other people and myself when I don't have the guts to actually face the discomfort. And I feel I don't have the guts most of the time. So in this case, I was judging my family member, but as a proxy, I'm actually judging myself for the future, because when I read about David Goggins, when I read about people who achieved what seemed impossible, I feel it's, well, impossible. So I give the lip service to the pain on this very stream, but am I really willing to take it? Probably not most of the time, and then I judge myself quietly. Is that something that you would have experienced, or are you this Iron Man that never has this?
I love this question, Alesh. I was on a call yesterday with a very old, close friend of mine, and we were discussing this very thing. So I am absolutely no Iron Man. In fact, I find myself testing my willingness to be uncomfortable on a regular basis. And even my methods of kind of voluntary stress, so the physical practices, for instance, are becoming normal. And so there's a kind of adjusting to that. I think one example, and I'll use this for myself, it's likely true for many of our viewers, our unwillingness to be with how things are. So how many times in a day do you find yourself kind of compulsively checking your mobile device? For me, it's countless times. If I look into my screen time, I can probably get an actual number of how many times I unlocked my phone. On Saturday, I did an experiment, and I put my phone in the blue box that our lovely friend Diane gifted us in our last mastermind group. And it was about 1 p.m. when I decided to put the phone in the box, and I told myself that I would not remove it from the box until at least 5 p.m. And I ended up leaving it in there the whole day and only taking it out to set my alarm clock for the following morning. It was incredibly liberating. What I'm finding is that there's this habitual reaching for the phone is stemming from some unwillingness to just be with whatever is, or do the next task that I know would benefit me to do. The long list of things that I'm avoiding, in other words. So I to answer your question, absolutely. Like, this is a daily battle, I would say. And I think it's helpful to look at our life. I love how Jocko Willink says that this is a campaign, right? Like this doesn't end. This just keeps going, which is really a beautiful thing, because regardless of how crappy you think you have done till this point, today is a new opportunity for you, just like it is for anybody else. And by the same token, regardless of how successful you think you've been till this point, if you quit now, none of that matters, right? Like, you show up at the gym today, the workout you did last week or 2 days ago doesn't matter. I mean, sure, you've got your accumulated gains and your strength, and the longer you don't do something, the more difficult it becomes. But if you stop now, then you will fall behind. So there's always this opportunity to continue. I may have gotten a little bit lost in the weeds there, but to answer your question, absolutely. This is something that is something I've been trying to shine a light to on a regular basis. And I think the biggest challenge for most people these days are just the distraction. This device right here, it's just too easy and too tempting. So this is something that I've been kind of consciously wanting to step away from more. What I found on Saturday when I put my phone in the box is I had a lot more availability for my family, for myself. And I was just in a more kind of relaxed, easeful state. Now, Saturdays kind of happen to be our off day anyway around here. And this allowed me to really kind of relish in that off time rather than need to impulsively check emails and, check this social media or, watch another YouTube video.
So is this, I'm just wondering, because it's relating it to how I feel about it. Um, I read about the extreme performers or athletes, and when it comes to the neural reaction to the pain or to this stress, it's often a huge release of dopamine after the fact. So you are kind of building up through this discomfort, which for you may have been the immediate discomfort of being deprived of your cell phone. You build up for some reward in the future. What you're describing is actually the bliss that happened a day later. Would you say that's how it works for you? This kind of tension building through the pain and through the manageable discomfort to some reward?
Yeah, in some cases the reward is not instant, but follows pretty quickly after the action. So I'll use one of my physical exercises. So I have an erg concept too. It's a rowing machine. You kind of get what you put in. You know, I do this routine guided with a coach that I really enjoy on YouTube, and often in the midst of this, it sucks, Alesh. Like, you know, doing these hill climbs or these high intensity intervals, and you know, there are days where it feels more easeful and like I'm making some progress. And the majority of the days, it's just hard. It's tough. It's sweaty. It's, you know, I run out of breath, and it's very physically challenging. Now, the gratification that I have when I complete, you know, this 30-minute exercise routine, and I've followed along to the best of my ability with the coaching, is that same thing that runners describe as a runner's high, right? Endorphins, you've got like all these wonderful chemicals that have been released in your brain. And so that's, you know, that's like a fix in a sense. It's what I'm after. Like, I know it's good for me, but if I didn't have that instant reward, I may be less likely to perform the action. Like if that kind of instant feeling of, okay, I feel like this has been effective, I feel more calm, I feel more alert than I did prior to beginning this. So there's an instant gratification there. Now, of course, the long-term benefits are more subtle, you know, and it's something that we can't really track so closely on a day-to-day basis.
So I'm just, you know, my mind is now wanting to go into multiple directions. But let's stick for a minute with the resistance. And I don't mean now that the, you know, resistant bands or you know, battle ropes or kettlebells. And I know you have an arsenal now, but the resistance when it comes to the discomfort, when it comes to the moment when you go into that. So I know we had the discussions even about this live stream, like you know, finding excuses, not wanting to do that because it kind of stinks, right? For me, this is I love to talk to you. At the same time, this is the end of my workday. Oftentimes, I just feel like lying down, and the instant gratification is not always there. Some of these things will just pay off later on. So I have to say this call is good for me, but I had a call with you, and I'm not gonna say which one. Hopefully it wasn't that obvious on the camera. When like half through the call, I still felt tired and I really didn't feel like doing it. So this gratification delay may make it more difficult for some people than for the others, right? With the gym, I know I need to start with regular physical exercise again, but I know that the first couple of weeks is gonna be pretty unrewarding because that's always how it is. The same thing I'm doing right now. This is the pain, right? I'm just going off sugar again. And this green thing, it's just liquid pain, and it's very unrewarding. And I know it's gonna take about 10 days before my taste buds get cleansed, and I stop having the sugar cravings. So do you have activities like that you know that there's long-term benefit, but it doesn't provide the instant gratification? Because I believe many people do. And if you do, how do you overcome this?
That's an interesting question. I think this would be one example. There is a sense of relief when we complete another one of these live streams. There's a lot of resistance to doing it. I need to make sure that the space will be quiet. I need to get my morning routine out of the way first and kind of arrange for the other people in my household to cooperate so we don't have kids screaming in the background and this and that. And yet there is, I think we're on episode 8 now, I believe, something like that. We're moving along.
9, my friend, it's 9.
9, look at that. So yeah. And there are some of these things. You mentioned going to the gym and how the first few weeks could be very difficult. Well, man, I'm here to tell you that, 8 months into doing kettlebells twice a week, a lot of days still suck. Like yesterday was Monday, so it was a kettlebell day. And man, there are days where it takes me like an entire hour to really like get into the flow of it and feeling like more behind than I was the week before. This is where I take what James Clear says very seriously about, detaching from the very specific outcome of like lift X amount or X amount of reps and just being the type of person that doesn't miss a workout. Like I hold on to that in a way that drives me. So that's my job, to show up and do it. And I can tell you that the compounding effect of doing even a shitty workout twice a week, every week, for months and months and months is a world of difference from not doing it at all. So there's a gratification in knowing that you showed up. And there's another way to look at it too is the action for the sake of the action. By doing, you can do the workout and think of it as I'm doing this to improve my, physical fitness and to change my body and to do this. And another way to look at it is that's training for other areas of your life where you resist discomfort. And you're unlikely to find a lot of other situations that stress you physically as much as, this kind of voluntary stress that we put on ourselves through physical training. Which is why I think it's so incredibly helpful for, for self-improvement as a whole, for kind of developing a calm way of being and this ability to approach a difficult task with some patience and perseverance. And it, in a sense, it becomes easier, and then when it does, you find a new way to challenge yourself and another thing that makes you feel like a total rookie beginner, which kind of ties into our beginner's mind topic from last week. And I find that part of it very important, this kind of humbling aspect of it, feeling like regardless of how hard I think I've worked, I can take on one new thing that makes me feel like a complete rookie and brings me right back down to that feeling of just getting started. And I always feel like I'm kind of there in a way of just getting started, eager to learn, eager to figure out what it means.
I think what you're saying is, or let me kind of wrap it into something that makes sense to me now. By leaning into the discomfort more often, builds some sense of resilience. Like, hell, I can take it, and this resilience is it's a transferable skill. So once you go through a discomfort in one area, you kind of build up the confidence and say, yeah, I can deal with discomfort. I can deal with something that's difficult. And maybe I can take on this extra challenge because I was able to deal with discomfort.
Yes. Yes. And there's a level of, there's a certain amount of momentum that you build by making these kind of snap choices the way that you know. So, it can start with making your bed or not in the morning, right? It can be very tempting to like either not make your bed or say, I'll make it later, but first I'm going to do something. I'm going to run to my comfort. I've just woken up. What's the most comforting thing I can do, right? I found that if I tackle these things, I tend to make more positive choices throughout my day. So if I make my bed right away, and I often don't have to because my fiance usually stays in bed later than I do, so it ends up falling on her. Another example would be, I've made my coffee in the French press. Like, do I leave it there to be tended to later, or do I deal with it right away and kind of clean up my morning and move forward from there? And these little things, these little choice points of like, oh, I can do it now, or I can leave it and get to it later. I feel that the more you make those slightly uncomfortable choices and choose to be with that, it becomes easier throughout the day to keep going in that direction of like doing the small act that is helping you in the long term.
No, that's the I think you're referring again to James Clear, right? It's this 1% exponential growth, +1 all the time, so you can stack it up during the day or week or year.
Sure. Yeah, there's a compounding effect, but also just becoming accustomed to doing that thing. That we build up the resistance. The longer we toy with the decision, the longer we sit with the decision of, am I going to do it or not going to do it, the more space that resistance takes up in our life, right? Sometimes we end up debating whether we're going to do the action for longer than the action would actually take, right? So we're kind of eating into our time and creating, starting off with quite a bit of decision fatigue by the end of the day, like what you were describing. At the end of the day, often you feel like a certain level of exhaustion, regardless of how much you've done. I don't know how this sounds to you, but I've found that I'm actually less mentally exhausted on the days where I've been more productive. And there's a very different type of fatigue that comes from a kind of wallowing or a lack of productivity. We all are familiar with that feeling, sitting around too much, watching one too many videos, whatever it is, versus the fatigue that comes from being busy and productive and having achieved something. There is a sense of like, okay, I'm ready to kick my feet up at the end of the day after that. But I found for myself that there's a level of alertness that I don't have. And that on the days where I am less productive and move less physically, that flavor of fatigue is much more difficult to move from. And I feel that it can even creep into the following day for me. Do you find that to be true at all, Alesh?
Yeah, I do. And actually, it's not happening to me that often, the older I get, but I still can say very tangible proof for me and for most of my friends dealing with hangover. Like the best way to do that is, not to wallow in bed, but go have a walk, have a run, grab a bike and catch fresh air. Otherwise, it lasts the entire day or to the next one. Depends how much you drink.
Yes. And there's always an opportunity to kind of salvage it. I feel like, for me, it's like it might be a 15-minute stretch in the end of the day if I haven't done enough movement. Although these days, I mostly, if anything, do more than what is necessary to keep me in that zone physically. there are other areas that are still challenging and still elude me at times. I'm curious, it might be a little bit off topic, but you mentioned as you were drinking your green beverage today that I think you were doing another sugar fast. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. So that's it's unraveling like some of the things I accomplished during the Q1 of this year, which is not uncommon. That's how it is. So I need to tighten it up a little bit more. And the new month is coming, so new beginning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So can you tell me a little bit about what that means for you? Like how strict is it? What is the vice that's most difficult for you to give up? And so how does this play out? Does this mean no sugar, fruit, certain times a day? Walk us through it a little bit, if you would.
Of course. So I'm not really strict when it comes to these bans. For me, I call it ban, but usually it's within limits. So I'm going definitely back on the sugar one, which means no processed sugar as a condiment, no snacks, no sweets, and I can fruit is okay. So fruit is allowed. Non-processed carbs are okay, and yeah, I think that's as simple as that. And of course, that means for me, I can't buy it, because if I do, then it's in my house, and I just can't resist when it's in my house. That's this fatigue, that is decision fatigue or denial fatigue that would be there. And I know that the way it works for me, I did it a couple of times. It really is anything between 8 to 12 days to lose the craving. It takes this long, and it's like recovering alcoholic. So I know I can sense there's a certain amount of sweets over a period of time that if I consume, I'll get back right to it. So
consuming the sugar and the sweets was causing you some sort of pain. There was something kind of going on in your head telling you, I need to change this behavior. And so it sounds like there was this awareness as you are continuing eating these things that you believe you ought not to eat. Is that accurate?
Yes. And what's important in here, and I think that ties nicely into our topic today, mainly it's mainly not the health effects at this point, except my teeth. I mean, I think I've been fed sugar my entire childhood, so the teeth I pay the price there. But I'm not like gaining weight, or I don't have yet any health problems due to that. But then this is important, I believe. It controls my mind, like seeking this instant gratification, this pleasure, avoiding the discomfort, avoiding the stress. Like, yeah, I had a stressful call. Let's have a Snickers bar. That's what I don't like. The fact that I am becoming this pleasure-seeking machine who, for prolonged periods of time cannot think clearly because my mind is occupied by sugar cravings. That's not how I want to live my life.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And so you mentioned a number of days. Is there an interest in making it a more consistent part of your life, rather than, for example, taking 2 weeks off only to go back to it just when you've started to lose some of the cravings and shift your ways?
I think what worked for me, and I want to bring it to other areas of my life. So that goes to binge watching YouTube or whatever, or any other bad habits. I'm looking for consistent change, but not complete abstinence. So normally what I would look for is with sugar, having some limitations on it. So let's say, 1 day a week, it may be allowed, or once a fortnight. I tried both. That kind of works. That's under the threshold. And what I see is important for me, and I would recommend it to those people who are watching who may be like me. I tend to judge myself for failing. So having sabbaticals, or giving yourself permission to indulge in specific times. For me, it's, for example, when I'm visiting my mom, I'm not saying, I'm not gonna eat sugar in her house, because I know part of it would be, avoiding what she cooks, having conversations with her, constantly defending myself, and then feeling sour about it, no pun intended. So I give myself permission for that increment, not to worry about that. And that made me feel less stressed about it.
Yeah, I relate with that. I've definitely found in my own life that if I can manage to be a little bit less rigid, the reduction in stress around diet contributes to my overall well-being. Whereas if I become too rigid, especially as a man with a family and kids, and sometimes you go out and you just, if you can't be flexible sometimes, the added stress, or in like you described, the kind of self-shaming guilt that comes along, like, okay, I ate the thing, but now I will give myself hell about it, kind of counters any benefit you get from the healthy eating. So I think that it's perfectly reasonable to have to make exceptions, and realizing that can be slippery. I've definitely found that, like, the more I allow myself certain things, particularly around sweets, the more I do tend to crave them. But yeah, I agree completely with what you're saying. It's good to be a little bit flexible.
I like to think about it as containers that I'm choosing to kind of fill. So giving myself permissions within certain container. I'm not saying I'm getting there, but for example, with the YouTube, right? I did this month. I watched things I didn't want to watch, really. Is a thing, where did my day go? What did I do?
Yeah.
And what worked for me in a Q1 this year, and I'm want to go back to that, is just allowing myself to watch movies and not really having any specific limits on how often or how many. The rule only was I'm only going to watch movies that I put on a list in advance, because there are quality movies I really want to watch, like this, bucket list of movies I have. So when I wanted to watch a movie, I had to pick something from the list that I really wanted to watch, rather than just browsing through the catalog and picking something that you didn't really even care about.
This is a great, I love this. And I, much like you, have found the same thing with YouTube, that suddenly I'm watching something that I really had no intention on watching. And I love this idea of making it more intentional and making an empowered choice, which then allows you to fully experience the time that you choose to watch a video, right? Like, yeah, I am watching a video right now. I don't have to feel like I should be doing something else, or like I ought to be somewhere else. This is what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing it fully. And I think that's a great way to enjoy it. And if you're the next YouTube free challenge you take on, I'd be happy to join you in.
Let's do it. Let's do it now, because I have a bunch, and I did it earlier this year, but I need to do that. So let's do it. Let's do it this month.
Okay. Well, how about the month of July then?
Sounds good. I'm in.
So what's great? So how do you contain this challenge for yourself? Do you have certain times that you allow yourself to use it and then none outside of that? Or is it just a cold turkey, zero, no app usage whatsoever?
So normally, the way I did it in the past and the way I would do that now is I am allowed to go for a specific video if I can name the purpose it serves. So if there's educational video like how to, fix my faucet or whatever, I can look it up and watch it. I can't just go there and watch. And I can only watch that. So I can go for a specific one and watch it, and then I'm off. I don't, the same goes for the apps. So the YouTube apps are gone from my phone. So that's it. I'm allowing myself to go there for a specific need.
Yeah. I like that. Do you use the premium version of YouTube, or are you subjected to these ads?
Subjected to ads. It's actually it's a funny story. So I'm in Luxembourg, and I used to be a long-term subscriber of Google Music, and they don't function in Luxembourg anymore. So I switched to Spotify. So no YouTube for me now.
Yeah. I eventually went for the premium because I was using YouTube for guided rowing workouts on the erg, and it was impossible to do with an ad in the middle. My erg data is connected to the thing, and then suddenly right in the middle comes this ad for whatever, for something that I have zero interest in. So I ended up going to premium, which has been a blessing and a curse. No ads, which is wonderful, but now it's just so smooth, and it's too easy to watch another video and another video. And suddenly I'm watching things that I had zero intention of watching. Like, how did I even get here? So I love this. July will be a YouTube free month. And
I want to say, and this is something I'm adding. I wasn't strict about it. So I don't know if you're still on, if you're still going to like it. So there is the movie kind of exception. I have this movie list that I can populate and watch that. Other than that, the YouTube ban for me this month, it will include other networks. So Netflix, HBO, and Amazon Prime, you name it, Apple, Disney, whatever. So I can, if I want to watch something from those networks, I need to put it on the list first.
Great. I love that idea. Well, shouldn't be a problem for me. What I noticed, and I'm curious to hear what your experience has been like. What I noticed on Saturday when I put my phone in the block box is that I suddenly had a much greater interest in snacking that day. Now that I've cut one thing out, I found myself suddenly having a lot more interest in eating that day.
Oh, yeah.
So
thank you.
Something to
I was
be
wondering
of.
if, this is so normal, I'm afraid. Yeah, I have that all the time.
Yeah. So it may be useful to come up with a list of activities that you might do when, not if, but when these cravings, urges, frustrations show up, right? So you crave sugar. Right now I'm drinking green tea. I found that it's a wonderful appetite suppressant, energizing, health benefits and so on. And you're drinking some green stuff as well. And so, you're feeling the urge to do something, you might, do something else, take a walk, ride your bike or your unicycle.
Oh yeah, that's still a wait, but okay, no, that sounds good. So I'm gonna make this commitment public. I actually have an ongoing spreadsheet with movies which I made public at some point. So I'll text you later on. Maybe we can make this public as well. So I can have it as accountability mechanism what I'm watching. And I have to tell you, funny thing, like a benefit on my no YouTube month, I watch the things I always wanted to watch, but I never really wanted to watch them at the moment. All of these Fellini movies and the more demanding, more art-like stuff that you want to watch. It's on your list, but instead you go 10 times again for the episode of Friends because it's just easy and you don't feel you have the energy to consume something more demanding.
Yeah, it's incredible how we end up watching things that we had we didn't even have an interest in, but somehow it managed to slide into our feed, and here we are. Next thing I know, I'm watching some video of someone getting sentenced to life in prison by some judge, or it's intoxicating, and yet there is zero benefit in me watching this. And so it's been interesting having the awareness as I do it and go, here's my lack of resistance here. So I love this challenge. I'm declaring here live with you that July will be a month free of mindless browsing. And for me, awesome. that will include any kind of Reddit, YouTube, and I will not replace that with suddenly becoming more interested in Facebook or something like that. So I like this.
Well, there will be some pain on my part then, because I already see it, but I'm glad I committed. What I would like you to, Raphael, I would like you to get suddenly just a little bit more interested in LinkedIn, because you're still not there, and you're getting famous there without actually having profile.
How about that?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. No, but we're done. I'm gonna write it down to put the rules in there, like what we are committing to, and I like it. I think that's the way to go ahead, to have something like this, and we can revisit that a week from now and see how it went, because that will be. I mean, I need to binge watch now between now and Wednesday, I guess. So on Tuesday the 6th, we can talk about that.
Sounds good. Do you have any interest in adding, since we've removed one thing, do you have any interest in adding something to sweeten the deal? It could be a walk. It could be some kind of other physical activity. You see me pushing Alesh here into the discomfort.
No, it's a sweetening the deal. I'm sweetening the deal by quitting sugar. So I'm going to do that as well. I see it. This is funny. This is I feel like I should give myself some credit for doing it again, but I'm not, because I feel I did it in Q1, so it should be easier now. But I can tackle these two at a time with the rules I committed to. So no processed sugar, no sweets, no condiments. So yeah, that's gonna be a funny month.
I'm with you, Alesh. So you're not alone. You got this. Anybody watching this that's interested in joining us, please do let us know how it goes in the comments, and open to ideas for future challenges. We'll see what we can tackle in August.
Sounds good. Okay. So I can hear the roosters already, Raphael, which means that I think there's the looming end of this call, and what I'd like to say, this is kind of funny. I really wasn't able to see you on video, only a static image, and I think it's telling. I personally would like to close with that, because I've been thinking about it as I'm looking at your handsome still image, realizing that's how this personal growth often feels. It's like growing your nails. It just doesn't seem to be moving at all, but it's more visible for the people on the outside that can see you transforming, and I see our viewers are actually able to see you move. So that's
fantastic. Good. That's a relief.
Okay, what's your closing remark? I've been talking too much today. I felt you should take all the space now.
I think we had a lot of nice pauses. You said this was our 8th or 9th conversation.
I believe it's number 9.
If we make it to 100, I think I'm going to buy a microphone. But we've got a ways to go. We've got a ways to go. Yeah, I will take another look at LinkedIn. And if you did manage to watch this, I want to thank you. Again, Alessia and I are open to suggestions, comments, constructive criticism, or any kind of criticism. Bring it on. And yeah, I hope this has served you in some way. And that's what I have today. Certainly did.
Okay. Thank you, Raphael. Always a pleasure. So we're gonna be back on number 10, Tuesday, same time, same platform.
Indeed. Until next time.